Hi everybody. Let's do some more Tai Chi. We'll start with the bear, just like we always like to do. So, nice and easy, turning back and forth. Feet are parallel, comfortable distance apart, what we call shoulder wide. Feel the rear crown of the head as if suspended. So it's like you're being held up by your head and the whole body can hang down from there. So get that feeling of the open body hanging down, space in your neck, space in your torso, chest, lower back, space down through the legs to the ground. As if suspended from the rear crown of the head. At the other end, your feet on the ground. Feel the tripod in each foot. So even as the weight pours in and out of the feet, the tripod is not perturbed. It stays steady on the ground. And that lets the bubbling well, the point and the apex of the arches of the foot, be open to the earth. So your bubbling wells are open to the ground. Your feet are quiet on the ground. In the middle, the mind rests in Dantian, 2 fingers below the belly button, roughly halfway in. Your physical center, your energetic, and the place that you want your awareness to calmly rest in. So your awareness is in your center, and you feel all the motion happening around the center. As we discussed last time, turn the waist. Turn the waist means that the driving motion is from the hips and the waist area, and that the shoulders stay with the hips, the nose stays with the belly button. Everything turns as an integrated unit. So the mind rests in the Dantian, and the movement comes from your center. Feel your hands moving through the air as if the air had the substance of water. So feel the air parting right in front of your palm of the hand that swings in front of you. So you don't have to reach for the air, it's all right here, like a fish swimming in water. But actually try to feel the air as you go through it. You'll notice it most in the palm of the front hand as it swings in front of you. And then most important, let the whole body relax. Letting go of any extra tension. This is a continual process. It's not something you achieve and then you're done with. The letting go, the loosening, the thing we call relax, is something you keep doing actively while you're moving. So continuing to actively release, actively let go, actively strive less. Rear crown of the head as if suspended. Feet are quiet on the ground, bubbling well up into earth. The mind rests in the Dantian, centered in your center. The hands move through the air as if it had the substance of water, really feeling the air. And the whole body relaxes. Less efforting, less striving, Every time you turn, letting go. Couple more swings. And take a break. So starting with the bear is always good because it gives you, it's such a choreographically simple move. Although as you see, there's a lot of depth to it, but it's simple and straightforward. So you can start with it and just get everything going. Get yourself moving easily. Try not to do it mindlessly. Try to actually be there as you're doing it. Really feel what's happening in your body. Really feel. Now, we all space out. We all get distracted. That's just the human condition. And the question is, when you get distracted, what happens then? Do you just keep following that distraction? Or do you notice you're distracted and come back to what you're working on? And that's what we want to practice in Tai Chi. Distraction just happens. But when you find that you're distracted, return to the tangible, concrete reality of what we're doing. And in the bear, that's this simple thing. So I'm going to introduce another idea in the bear, which is the idea of opening and closing of the hip joints. So with the elbow, it's really obvious. When I close my elbow, the two parts of the elbow come towards each other. When I open my elbow, the two parts of the elbow go away from each other. So closing means the two parts come towards each other. Opening means the two parts go away from each other. So that's just, just the jargon, technically. It's what happens with doors, right? Is if you look at the door and a frame, when they're closed, the two have unified and come towards each other. And when they open, they move away from each other. They become independent. So closing is to unify and come together. Opening is to become independent and move away from each other. So opening and closing is something that we work with in Tai Chi Chuan a lot. And we'll look at it in all of the joints. Now, open has all these meanings in addition to the technical meaning of the two pieces on either side of the joint coming towards each other or moving away from each other. So we'll talk about the whole body being open. And what you want to have a feeling there is that it's spacious. I'm not trying to say that all the pieces should become independent and move separately. That's a different open than the open and closing. So there's open and closing in the elbow. That's the easy one. There's open and closing in the hips. So if you go into a 70-30, when you come into the end of the 70-30, your pelvis turns towards your front thigh. That means that this hip is closing. And so you can see this. So do the bear with me for a little bit. As you turn one direction, take that hand and drop it inside the qua, we call this, K-U-A. It's the name for it in Chinese. It's the actual place where the hip joint is. So drop your hand inside the qua. And as you turn, you should feel the hand get swallowed between the thigh and the front of your pelvis. This hip is closing. This hip is opening. The pelvis is moving away from the thigh. And then drop the hand that swung in front of you into its qua and turn the other direction. And you'll feel the hand get swallowed. So just do the bear with me for a second this way. Closing the hip of the leg you're shifting towards, opening the other hip. And go ahead and let your hand fall into the qua, into the hip joint there, so that you really feel it. We don't use tons of Chinese terminology, just a little bit, but qua is a nice word. It's easier to say than the inguinal crease, and it's right there that you'll find. So as you're doing this, you should feel like you're swallowing your hand, and then the other hand drops in, and you turn and you swallow that hand. Meanwhile, this one swings out in front. It drops, swing the other one. It drops into the qua, swallow it, swing the other hand. So this should help you get this feeling of opening and closing of the hip joints. And now here's a secret for Tai Chi. In Tai Chi, we're always out of phase with the two hip joints. So while one is closing, the other is opening. And then this one starts closing, and this one starts opening. And so as I do that, there's a place where the two look the same. But one is closing, while the other is opening, so the direction is different. Here, it's pretty obvious that they're different. Then this one starts closing, this one starts opening, and right there, they're in the same place, but one is opening while the other is closing. So the hip joints are always doing this. And this is true in the bear. So this is an important thing to pay attention to in the bear, is that as you're turning towards one hip, that one leg, that quad is closing while the other is opening. And then you change it. This one opens while the other closes. So I'll often make these kinds of little hand gestures just to help myself feel it as you're doing this, the opening and closing. And so this will be true all through the form. All the way through the form, what we're doing is we're always opening one hip joint and closing the other hip joint. And it's a verb, not a state. So it's not that we're interested in a closed joint or an opened joint. We're interested in the closing and the opening. Just like relax is a verb. Relaxing, letting go, releasing. That's what we're interested in, is the doing of it, not trying to get a state. Oh yeah, relaxed, check. Oh yeah, closed, check. No, it's the closing with a matched opening. Closing with a matched opening. So play around with this when you're doing the bear and just see what you can find in there. So let us do the first third up through single whip. We'll do it a bunch of times, and one of those times I'll stop and we'll do details, and then I'll turn it over to Beth in another 10 or 15 minutes, and she will teach you the next couple moves. So, from the top. And we'll just run through this a couple times. No breaks. Just follow along with us and enjoy it. Relax. Go ahead. And again. Go ahead. Another time, and I'll say the names of the moves this time. Beginning Tai Chi. The opening move. Sometimes we just call it the first one. Ward off left side. And ward off right side. Roll back. And press. Push. And then all of this is getting into single whip. Okay, one more time, and we're going to stop at each posture and pay attention to some of the technical details. I will turn around and face you and face the other direction. Beth will keep facing the same direction that you're facing, so that you can follow her, but you can look and see what I'm doing when I talk details. So, start out right away in the V. Shift all your weight to the right. Let the left knee float so the left heel comes off the ground. Step laterally to the left. Shift the weight, which opens the body slightly to the right. Turn to the front, pivoting on the right heel. Shift 50-50. Stand up to an unlocked knee position. Hold it here for a second. And check your feet. Make sure your feet really are toes in a line and parallel. They're both pointed the same direction. It's really easy for them to be off just a little bit. And so go ahead and fix it. It can take a long time to learn to step exactly where you want. So don't worry about that. If we're going to stop, whenever we stop and hold postures, always fix anything you can. There's no reason to hold the posture in a place that you happen to land, but you can notice that it's not what you want to do. Okay, now we'll do the opening move. Let the arms swing up, the fingers trail behind, the wrists are relaxed. Feel out to your fingertips. Let the hands slide back as if on an invisible tabletop. Let the arms rebalance, the fingers point up, and the hands come down. Okay, do it again. As the arms come up, make sure your wrists are really soft. So see how I'm kind of wiggling my wrists? Do that, make them really soft, and then let the motion come out to the fingertips. Stop here for a second. Check how high your fingers are. They're certainly not above my shoulders. So the arms are perhaps lower than you think. Now bring the hands back to the body, keeping exactly the same height. So they don't go up or down as you do that. Now here's the trick for the next part. When my hands slide off the invisible tabletop, the fingers stay at the same height. See how my hands are just sliding across my other hand? They're not doing this. So it's like these are a link of sausages, and as the sausages slide off the table, link by link by link comes on. Sausages don't slide off the table like this unless they're well past the time you should be eating them. So the fingers come back, they slide off so my fingers are awake, pointed up, and then the wrists gradually straighten as the hands come down. Once more. Arms come up, wrists are completely relaxed. Feel out to the fingers. Bring the hands back along that invisible tabletop. Now let the links of sausages fall off the tabletop so the fingers end up pointing up without any lifting. And then put the hands down. Great. Continuing to ward off left. Shift the weight to the left. Turn to the right. Your hands form a ball of air. You pivot it on the right heel. Shift all your weight to the right. Keep that ball of air. Rear foot is empty. Turn to the front corner and step. By turning, it makes that step a lot easier. Shift without turning. You're still facing the corner, you're still facing the corner. When you've got most of your weight forward, turn rear foot on heel. So stop, check your 70-30s. Make sure you've got width and length. Make sure the front foot's pointed right exactly straight ahead and the rear foot is at an angle. Then the ward-off position. Your front arm is rounded. The palm faces the body. The bottom hand is on the head of that small child who's standing in front of my hip. You're not leaning one way or the other, forward or back. The body is upright. And most of your weight is in the front leg. Relax. Okay, continue. Put all your weight forward. Let the right hand come under the left. Turn to the right, pivoting on the ball of the right foot. As you do that, you get a ball of air. Step. Shift. The ball rotates so that it's horizontal. Your waist is still in the corner when you've got your weight forward. And then turn. Ward off right. Ward off right. Check your 70-30. Make sure you've got width. Make sure you've got appropriate length. Make sure your front foot's pointed right straight ahead. The waist is square to the front. That means your right hip joint has closed and your left hip joint is hanging open. Your right arm is a ward off. It's here in front of you. Your left palm faces it. You've got a little ball of air between the two hands. Ward off right. Continue. More weight into the front leg, turning to the right corner. Sit back all the way into the back leg. As you do that, the left palm turns up. The left ring finger is right here beside the side of my right elbow. The right palm is vertical and extended. It didn't come in. Turn from the right corner to the left. That's the end of rollback. And now on to press. Arms swing. Come back towards the front, the two hands squeezing together, and press. You should still have a good 70-30 because your feet didn't move. So you've still got width, you've still got length. The 2 feet are at angles relative to each other. You're square to the front hip joint is bent, creased. The heart of the left palm covers the pulse point on the right hand. So the 2 hands come together. And you're not leaning on yourself, you're not pushing on yourself. You're just barely touching. It's like butterfly wings touching. Continue to push. Sit back, palms turn down, and then let the elbows drop. So all that weight is going into what we call your rear root, your rear foot. So you really feel this weight dropping down into the rear leg. And then push forward. Good 70-30, width, length, feet at angles, waist square to the front. The elbows dangle. So this is the hands hanging on the clothesline. I just hang them here. And look at her palms. They're going out, not down. So I'm not trying to push somebody down into the ground. I'm pushing out. So feel that the palms are going out. Single whip. Sit back all the way, the forearms lay down, and turn the waist. Keep the nose with the belly button, the shoulders with the hip. All the weight is in the left leg. Don't turn any farther than you can. Now shift to the right and turn to the right as you do that, grabbing the hook. So as I shift to the right, I turn to the right, the hook forms, the left hand comes underneath it to catch the drips. All my weight is in my right leg. Turn to extend the hook. Step for a 70-30. Remember, that's a wide step. Shift, the left arm comes up. More weight forward, turn your waist. Turn the left palm out. Let the right hook hand be high at the height of the shoulder. And relax. Good 70-30. Width, if you didn't get your width, which is likely, just go ahead and fix it. Length. Feet at angles relative to each other, waist square to the front, left wrist in front of left shoulder, left elbow dangles, all 4 fingers touch the thumb on the right hand, right hook is at the height of the shoulder, arm is relaxed. Single whip. Okay, let's run through the first third one more time. We won't stop, but this is the process. If you made changes while we just did that bit up through single whip, then try to make the same changes again in flight while you're doing the form. Right? So we stop and we find, oh yeah, this isn't quite right, and you fix it. Okay, great. And then the next time you do this, what you need to be looking for is, oh, that's not going to be wide enough, right, when I get there. So when I step there, I need to step over to the side a little bit. And you know that because the last time we got to single whip, you had to change to get more width. Or whatever it is. If you were doing ward off and your palm was out, and you noticed that when I told you that the palm should be in, then the next time, notice, oh, look at that, my palm's trying to turn out, and keep it in as you do that. So that's the process for learning. You need to look at these details, figure out what you can change, and then, importantly, remember for the next time. So we'll do it. No hurry, but we won't stop any place. We'll just get through it. I'll say the names of the moves again. So from the beginning, Beginning Tai Chi. Check your feet. I missed a little bit that time. First one. Sausage fingers drip off the table. Continue to ward off left. Continue to ward off right. Roll back. And press. Hands just touching. Push. Elbows drop into rear root. Palms push out, not down. Single whip. Keep your alignment. Keep the alignment. Extend the hook and step. Try to get enough width. Single whip. Okay, great. Let's do the other form sequence. Brush knee, play guitar. We'll run through that briefly. And I think in 2 classes, we actually hook that into the form, so you've got a couple more chances to get it. So, brush knee, left foot is forward, waist is square, right hand is like a push, the left hand is by your thigh. Gather into the front foot, pick up the rear foot, replace it, shift, stretching the rubber band, release the rubber band, play guitar. Let the arms swing. Front hand drops, rear hand folds, front foot steps, shift, staying in the corner, then turn, back to brush knee. Gather, open, hands moving apart from each other, close, hands moving towards each other. Turn. Left hand drops, right hand folds, left foot steps, shift, stay in the corner, turn, last minute, brush knee. Again, down into the front foot, stretching the rubber band, release the rubber band, play guitar. Continue, arms swing, front hand drops, rear hand folds, front foot steps, shift, turn. Once more. Gathering, opening, closing. Swing. Front hand drops, rear hand folds, front foot steps, shift, then turn. Brush knee. Brush knee, make sure you got a good 70-30. Left foot's pointed straight ahead. You've got width, you've got length. You're not leaning, you feel upright. Your right hand is like a push, palm out, not down. Your left hand is here by your thigh. Great. take a break. So I said this a couple times while we were doing this, I'm going to make it explicit. When you're going into a 70-30, make sure to save some turn for the end. So as I'm coming into brush knee, I've just in play guitar, and I come into brush knee, my front hand drops, my rear hand folds, my front foot steps. My waist is facing the corner. And I keep it facing the corner until I've got most of my weight forward. And then I turn. So there's a real tendency to turn first and then shift, to do it like this. And then shift. And what you'll find if you do that is there's no reason to turn the back foot in. You won't have it. So save some turn until you've done most of the shifting. So I stay here in the corner, and then I turn at the end. Later, we will work on shifting and turning together. But the danger for beginners is that you will turn, then shift, rather than shifting, then turning. So all of them. I'm going into ward off left. Shift, 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 shift. My waist is still in the corner. Then I turn. I'm going into ward off right. Shift, 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 shift. My waist is still in the corner. Then turn. So as beginners, really do it that way. Shift, then turn, not turn, then shift. Okay, I'll turn it over to Beth now, and she'll teach you some new moves.
Okay, so now we're going to work on some new moves. So do this with me. You're going to stand on your left leg and let the empty right foot just be out in front, and take your arms so that you're like hugging a big tree. And then you're going to bring the hands together like it's a small tree and feel out to your fingertips. So do this again. Everything comes in and extends out. And again, hugging the big tree, hug a small tree, feel out to your fingertips. Another time. Big tree, small tree, out to your fingertips. Rest your legs. You might have noticed that standing on one leg over and over again is starting to get your attention. So this is 100% posture, and that means all the weight is in one leg. So the way we want to do this is that everything's coming in and extending out, and the weight doesn't change. It stays completely in your left leg. So do this with me again, and pay attention to keeping all the weight in one leg. So you're hugging a big tree, everything comes in toward your center, you're hugging a small tree, weight's still in your left leg. You feel out to your fingertips. Still, all the weight. You've got an empty leg. It's resting on the heel, but it's empty. It's not holding you up. Notice the difference. Go ahead and let a little bit of weight fall into it and see what that does. Now, sit in the back leg completely. This is what we're looking for when we say 100% posture. So rest your legs again. Your legs will notice after a while. This is part of the process of doing Tai Chi. It doesn't matter how strong your legs are. When you do Tai Chi on them, they need to use your muscles a little differently, and you will discover that they notice. So this move is called lifting hands. So you're starting big. Everything comes in small. And then this is the lifting hands part at the end. So you can think of it as you're hugging a big tree, then it's a small little sapling, and then you feel out to your fingertips. That's the lifting hands part. Notice the relationship of the two hands. This may remind you of doing the deer, where one hand and the other elbow are relating to one another. So that's what these hands do. So do it again. Everything is wide open. You're hugging that big tree. Everything comes in close, and feel out to your fingertips. Notice where your hands are. Notice where your weight is. Keep a little bit of a bend in the leg you're standing on, and also in the empty leg. If you straighten your empty leg, it will start to put some tension in there, and a little bit of weight will go into it. So we always have a slightly bent knee on an empty leg. So shake out your legs, and now I'm going to jump ahead to another position. So in this one, looks like our dog Valerie here is, she may be out of camera range right now, but she's acting like something's happening somewhere. Okay, so in this one, I want you to, it's pretty much the same position that you were just in here, only this time I want you to turn a little more to the left and let your hands be like they're holding a ball of air over your left thigh. Your right foot is a little to the outside of your heel, but you're not shoulder width like a normal 70-30. And I want you to just come into the front leg and swing back. Shifting and back. Letting the arms swing with the motion. And notice how the right arm comes like, we call it like an elephant's trunk. So think about keeping it long and letting it swing. You can even let go of the left hand and just do the right one a little bit. So you start facing the corner, you come out, you don't quite get square, I'm still cornerish with this shoulder in kind of frontal. So do it again. Back and forth, just getting the feeling of this arm, staying long. The palm is still facing the body, it's not turning over. Just swinging like an elephant's trunk. There's a little bit of turn, turning from here to here. I'm not turning to face front, but my attention goes from the corner to being frontal. And now if you bring in the other arm too, come back to this ball across your thigh. As you swing your elephant's trunk, the left hand is going to come palm down in by your right elbow. So in the back leg, you've got a ball. In the 70-30, your hands are in this position. Let me turn and face this way so you can see, and then I'll actually turn the other way too. So into the front leg, into the back leg, front leg, back leg. So this is a funky 70-30. We'll talk about it more in a minute. But you're 100% in the back leg and then 70% in the front leg. Let me turn the other way so you see what the hands are doing. So you're here and there. So you see I'm turning, but not that much. Letting the right arm swing like an elephant's trunk, letting the left arm come up, palm down. It starts here, comes up, palm down. Together, they end up inside the elbow here. Notice that my arm is long across my thigh. So it's not over here, and I'm not holding it back over there. This is part of this elephant's trunk feeling. My shoulder's over here, my arm hangs long, and it ends up just over the thigh, crossing the thigh a little bit. So rest your legs a moment. This move is called shoulder strike or shouldering. Don't let that fool you. It's not about the shoulder, this part here. It's really more this feeling of like our teacher Jane used to say, it's like moving a piano. All right, so you got to get yourself behind the piano. This is the shoulder part, is that you get that piano right here, and then you come forward and move it. Or we sometimes talk about it like getting a car that's stuck in the snow. And you get behind the car, and everybody pushes to get the car out of the snow. It's got that kind of a quality. So don't get too focused on the shoulder, because then it will lead you into a position that you don't want to be in, where I lean because I think I have to lead with the shoulder. So here's the fourth principle in Tai Chi: body upright. So relax, separate empty and full, turn the waist, not the shoulders. Body stays upright. So you don't want to lean in any direction. You want to keep your body upright. That gives you a nice central axis that you can move easily from. So let's do those two again, the two little sequences. So here's one. Your arms are big. You're hugging a big tree. Everything comes in and out to the fingertips, lifting hands. Do it a few more times. Hugging a big tree, hugging a small tree, out to your fingertips. All the weight stays in your back leg. Hug the big tree, small tree, lifting hands out to the fingertips. And now put your feet in this little funky, not quite a 70-30 position. In the back leg, your hands have a ball across your thigh. Come into the front leg, hands move. Swinging, you've got a ball. Right hand moves like the elephant's trunk and ends up across your right thigh. Left hand turns palm down, ends up inside the elbow of the right. 70% in the front leg, 100% in the back leg. Letting the arms swing as you shift and turn just a little bit. Okay, and rest your legs. So let's put them into the form. So the first thing I want to point out is that when I just was going over these movements, we were standing with our feet in a comfortable position where the back foot was pointing to the corner. I did that so that you didn't get caught by what's happening down at the feet. But when we come out of the last posture, single whip, our feet are a little bit different. So if, let's see, which direction? I guess I'll face this way. Oh, I'll face the same direction as Lee. We'll get all the directions in one way or another. So you're in your 70-30, single whip. All the weight goes into your left leg, and you're going to turn to the right. So you're turning. Keep the left foot stable. That means it's pointing to the wall. The back foot is going to pivot as you shift all your weight into your left leg and free the right leg, and then you turn. It follows the movement of the body and pivots on the ball. Now you've got the big tree. So back into the 70-30. You still have the hook, When you shift into your left leg, let go of the hook, and the arms end up in the hugging a big tree place. Then everything comes in, feel out to the fingertips. So now this is the posture coming out of the form. Beware, your feet are at 90 degrees to one another. Rest your legs. This is a difficult place to be. You have to really open up and not let the movement happen in the knees. So I want to do this and move away from that knee rather than coming into this leg and then turning this way and having the knee come with me. This will take a while, but be aware of it. If you feel for the tripod on the bottom of your foot, go ahead and just, stand on your left leg, point it in one direction, and get your other foot at 90 degrees to it, and feel the tripod on the bottom of your left foot. Turn just a little bit, keeping the tripod. Notice that there's a tendency for the foot to want to roll as you turn, and when you roll your foot, that's going to take your knee sideways, and that could hurt your knees. So I don't want you to hurt your knees. We'll talk about this more. This will come up over and over again, but I want to just bring some awareness to it so that you have a tool for working with it, and that's maintaining that tripod. Even as you turn, try to keep all 3 points. And just as a reminder, the 3 points are the heel, the ball behind the big toe, and the ball behind the little toe. We have this magical space in the apex of the arch that we call the bubbling well. That's where you want to be dropping straight through. But those 3 points are going to serve you very well if you pay attention to what's happening. And they'll keep your knees in the right position if you can keep those 3 points in contact. So let's do this again. Lee's facing the direction you'll be facing. I just want to make sure that you'll see me when we turn. So single whip. Make sure you've got a good size stance, that you have width, you have length. There's more weight in your front leg. You're not all the way out over your front leg. You're sitting down like you're in a chair. Left hand, wrist in front of shoulder, elbow dangles. Right is making the hook. All the weight goes into your left leg. When you do that, let the hook hand open, turn the body toward the corner, and let the right foot pivot on the heel, on the ball. Now you're hugging the big tree. Hug a small tree. Your foot steps in a little bit. Your hands come in, and then feel out to your fingertips. Everything extends. This is lifting hands. Let's do it again. Single whip. Into the left leg, hook opens, turn to the right, hug the big tree, hug a little tree. Feel out to your fingertips. And again. Weight in the left leg, turn to the right, hook opens, hug a big tree, hug a little tree, feel out to your fingertips. Rest your legs. So this whole section's going to really work your left leg. Don't worry, we'll work the right leg too. That's coming. But this is going to put a lot on your left leg, so stop and shake it out a little bit if you need to. And just let it be soft and relaxed. I don't mean shake it out like that. Just let it be soft and just let the leg release any tension that it's building by having to keep all the weight on there as you're turning and doing all of this. So let's do it again, and then we'll move on. Single whip. All the weight in the left, turn to the right, hook hand opens, hugging a big tree, hugging a small tree. Feel out to your fingertips, lifting hands. Now let the hands drop, palm to palm. Your right foot comes in by your left ankle. Your hands are now in the ball of air over your left thigh. Step back out you're not going to have shoulder width. I want my right foot to clear the heel of the left, but I'm not stepping wide enough for shoulder width. The foot comes back by the ankle, the hands make a ball over your left thigh, step back out, and shift, shouldering. So you can come back and forth. Now you're in actually the posture where your feet are still 90 degrees to one another. Make sure that your feet have this kind of relationship. So one of our teachers would say, feet like an L, not a T. So if you step out like this, now my feet are like a T, and it's going to throw me off. So let the right foot be outside the left heel. Let's do it again from single whip. All the weight in the left, hook opens, turn to the right, hug a big tree, right foot pivots on the ball. Hug a small tree, feel out to your fingertips. Weight still in your left leg. Hands drop, palms facing each other, right foot comes in by your left ankle. Step back out, feet like an L. Shift, shoulder strike. And you can come back and forth like we were just doing, but now you've got the added complication of your feet being in 90 degrees from one another. Make sure that you end up with more weight in your right leg. Also, make sure that the right foot has a good connection through those 3 points at the tripod, because you want your leg to go this way, not that way. Let's do it again. Single whip. All the weight into the left leg, turn to the right, hook hand opens, right foot pivots on ball, hugging the big tree, hugging a small tree. Feel out to your fingertips. This is lifting hands. Hands drop, palms face each other, right foot comes in by your ankle, right foot steps back out in an L, shift, right arm swings long like an elephant's trunk, left hand comes in, palm down by your elbow. This is shoulder strike. And let's do it again. All the weight in the left, turning to the right, hook hand opens, right foot pivots on ball, hugging a big tree, hugging a small tree. Feel out to your fingertips. Hands drop, making a ball over your left thigh, right foot steps in, steps back out, shift into your 70-30, shoulder strike. Rest your legs. So now you've got a big stretch of the form. You have 4 of the 5 main principles that we use. I guess we'll save the last one for next time so that we bring them out one at a time. And let's do the whole form all the way up to shoulder strike. And begin. Raise hands. Opening move. Ward off left side. Ward off right side. Roll back. Press. push. Single whip. Lifting hands. And shouldering. Make sure when you end up, your body is upright, not leaning. Okay, rest your legs. We're told that Chung Man Cheng, that guy, our teacher's teacher, had said, beware of a posture that's asking for a beating. And this is a posture that's asking for a beating. This posture is not asking for a beating. So remember to keep yourself upright, and that will keep you from kind of asking for a beating. Let's do it again. I won't say anything this time, so you can just follow along with us. Okay, great. So keep practicing and ask us questions if you have any, and we'll just keep rolling right along. So, thank you.